Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of the Para OR Normal Guyz. We're glad you're here, and I got so many buttons to push tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see here. Let's do the first thing here. We got to get this started off right. First off, I got to make sure I'm live on Yerg's Radio. We should be. We are transmitting on Yerg's Radio on the internet. I will put the link up here soon. And here we are transmitting. Yay! I'm happy. I was kind of scared, actually. This is my first time.
Ladies and gentlemen, from coast to coast and around the world, you're listening to the Sport Cat Show.
That's right. We also have tonight call in. You can call us at, let's pull that number up. It's 1-888-88-YERGZ, 1-888-88-YERGZ, Y-E-R-G-Z. So we got that out of the way. We're broadcasting live. The phone lines are open. It'll be a miracle if I can figure it out, but hey, we'll give it a try. I'm joined tonight by my lovely co-host, Miss Dina. Let's bring her out here.
Hello.
Hello. And we have a special treat tonight. We have a first responder who has made it successful, gotten out of the business, and now he's running around telling us all what we do wrong. Mr. Marc Hill. He's going to give a much better introduction than that, but he's one of us. He's good peeps. So let's bring in Marc. How are you, Marc?
Hey, how's everybody doing?
Good.
Doing well, doing well. So like I said, I probably butchered what you do. Butched. Oh, I feel nervous tonight for some reason. I shouldn't because...
Don't be nervous. You're fine. You're doing fantastic.
You're doing well. You're doing well.
Yeah, well, if I fall over, you know where to send Gwinnett. So
it doesn't matter. Life lessons.
That's
take
right.
Take it easy, Gwen. Take it easy. You're too stressed.
I'm always too stressed. So.
I know you are. You got to just
breathe.
Take a breath.
It's okay.
We could have a yoga. Maybe we'll have a Glenn intervention tonight instead.
We might have to do that.
Yeah, because he left me in charge of this whole thing.
Yeah, I know. Gosh, what's he thinking?
Yeah, well, I took control of the station earlier today, and he couldn't get back in. It was funny. He's like, I can't even get back in. And I'm like, all right. So I started playing rock and roll music. He's like, stop that. I was cussing. It was fun. So, but yeah, Daddy gave me the keys, and I'm running away with it. So it's great.
You'll find a big bill from the FCC later on. We'll be all right.
Yeah, the FCC did just take over the internet. So yeah.
Did they?
Yeah, I think that was one of the recent Biden bills or something. I'd have to go back and look, but I'm pretty sure that the FCC got control of the internet. So
yep, monitoring everything now.
Great.
Yeah. Well, they did just release. I'm sorry, Marc. I'm going to say this real quick. AT&T right. Apparently is a front for the Secret Service or CIA or some crap because they've just discovered that they can play back your phone conversations. This is straight funded billions of dollars a year by the White House through AT&T back to 1987. Not texts, phone calls. Think about that. One of these shows at 2 hours is like,
my gosh.
I don't know how many gigabytes, like 25, 26 gigabytes. How big of a damn computer? There's not secret weapons in damn Area 51. There's big computers storing our phone calls.
Well, think about when they had the Patriot Act. That was legal. They were legally listening to every conversation that you were having, and they were all, looking for all the key words. And did he say this? Are they talking about that? That was they passed it. It was legal. I mean, they could, the NSA. They had all those banks of all those things recording everything.
It's crazy. But we're still freer than a lot of other countries, so
yes, there's nowhere else I'd rather be. Yes.
Yeah, I get. Yeah,
maybe an island of my own somewhere in the Bahamas.
Right.
I thought about that, but then I'd have to grow my own food. I'd have to milk the cows.
True.
I'd rather go to Kroger's or Safeway. I mean, just all things.
That is a little easier. Yeah.
Yeah,
we just had the deer hunting up here where, my father-in-law, it was too warm actually to go hunting.
Really?
Especially, up here in Wisconsin. So, I'm from Wisconsin, or I'm actually from Upper Michigan. I'm in Wisconsin. That's where I live here now. Usually it's cold, freezing temperatures during deer season. So when you shoot a deer, and after you field dress it, you usually just hang it in your garage. And then
wow.
eventually you get to doing the butchering, as time goes on. There's not a rush because it's
Right.
as cold as normal ice boxes anyway. Well, this year it was 45, almost 50,
Oh.
so it was too warm. So he told me, because I asked him, have you seen anything? He's like, well, nothing worth shooting, and no one else was really shooting because you can always hear the gunshots going off and stuff. You can always judge whether it's good or not, and he's like, no one's taking any shots, and everyone's got the same problem. You already got a freezer full of meat from last year. He's like, I don't really need another, I don't have the time nor the energy, so he's like, I'm not doing anything unless it's actually worth shooting. So everyone was in the same boat.
That's
I think
crazy.
the deer harvest in Wisconsin was down like 25% or 28% or something like that.
I think,
All right, I'm gonna try something here real quick because we got a live caller, but it's really just
okay.
Yergs. Yergs, can you hear me? Can you hear us? Well, nobody's talking, but
Hello. Hello.
Tina says hello.
I cannot
What's that?
hear him.
Yeah. Okay.
Can you hear him, Glenn?
Yeah, I can. Really? Well, how do we fix that problem? Wow.
Well, anyway, while they're talking,
Yeah, give me a minute.
Dina, how are you?
I'm good. I have an ex-boyfriend who used to hunt, and he would pack the deer since it was warm, usually warmer down here.
Oh yeah,
pack the deer with ice,
mm-hmm.
And then take them directly to the processor here. We didn't have anywhere to he field dressed it, of course, but pack it in ice and then take them to the
I tell you,
processor.
It's kids nowadays. If there's a business that someone wants to open up, butcher shops. I mean, you can't literally. A lot of the guys from the fire department too that were out hunting and stuff. I mean, you can't literally. You have to reserve a spot years in advance.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, because if you want anything more than just normal cuts, if you want sausage made or any kind of actual specialty stuff, yeah, good luck. There's no way you'll ever get in because there's so few actual butchers anymore, and the regulations, which is good. I mean, you obviously don't want to have.
Oh, of course.
You obviously don't want to have, your meat, left out and all those different things, and ruin everything at the same, getting everybody sick. But at the same time, it's like, man, the health code, all the rules and all the regulations and all the permitting and all the stuff that goes into having, lots of small businesses. But yeah, butchery is, man, that's a whole. You could write your own ticket.
Art, I guess. A lost art.
Yeah. Well, it's like anything, right?
Wild meat, I guess.
Yeah.
We have the only one I know of is I only know of one that does for where hunters take them here, all locally. There may be more, but I only know of one that we used for years. That they made sausage and jerky and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah,
and they were always busy.
Oh yeah. Especially if they're especially if you got people that know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And that's always the caveat. It's a great place, but they don't know. But at the same time, it's like, hey, you know what? I need this done,
Right.
And the prices that they, there was a guy in the department too, that he had his own taxidermy, side business. And he would, which, it's amazing how you can make anything complicated, which is funny. And that, when I wrote my book, that was always one of the things, like, you know, everyone's like, well, you know, why are you writing a book about teaching in the fire service or EMS, you know, things like that. It's like, well, you can make anything complicated, like literally and figuratively, you know.
True.
He's you know, because he's like, oh yeah, well, because he's a big fisherman too.
Mm-hmm.
And he was going off one day about all these different, you know, and I'm not a fisherman. I've gone fishing. I can probably count on one hand how many actual fish I've ever caught, you know.
Yeah.
And but you know, the types of reels, the length of the reel, you know, the type of line that you're using, the different, you know, spoons or, you know, flies, or, you know, it's just like, you can make anything complicated. Yeah, you can literally, you know, you can make it real hard, you know. It's not like, holy crap, it's not just throwing a line in the water. No. How deep are we going there? You know, it's just like, what kind of fish are you going after? It's like, oh, I don't know. How about just something to eat? I have no idea. You know, and that's the thing. Like when he was doing his taxidermy too, it's just like, well, what kind of mount, you know, do you want a shoulder mount? Do you want this? Do you want that? Do you know, all these different things? And it's just like, I don't know, you know, just mount the thing. I have no idea. Show me a picture, you know?
So I can point at it and say,
yeah. And it's funny because he would take all the money he would make in the taxidermy and he would apply that to go elk hunting out west.
Oh,
so nice. that was his business for what he liked to do, which is, you know, that's fine.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
You know, and that's, you know, that's the thing. There was a couple other guys too, you know, that, you know, it's like every, you know, department, everyone's got like, you know, side businesses and, you know, stuff like that. So, you know, it was always kind of nice. Like you knew a guy, you know, like, hey, I had a second garage. It was just a big shed, dropped off on my yard, last year. And I needed to get it smoothed out. It's like, okay, who's got a skid steer, or who, you know, oh yeah, I got one, you know, so there's always somebody that's got, you know, or, hey, I've got a half load bucket where I can come over and drop some gravel. It's like, all right, yeah, that's, you know.
That was always one of the most awesome parts of working in EMS or with firemen that, or police officers that could do, I mean, you could find somebody that knew somebody or that did something that, you know, did something part-time.
That was great. Every problem could get fixed at the firehouse table, right? You know, every problem, every solution, you know, whether you think it's the solution or not, you know, that's how we do it. Okay, all right, well, I guess that's how we're doing it then, you know. Yeah, I know, every single thing.
Yeah.
Hi guys, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Well, there was some kind of snafu, and only me, myself, and I was going out over the FM radio or the radio. Oh. So I may have that fixed now. I'm not sure. So if I just fade out again, just let me know. So.
Okay.
But y'all were doing good. Yeah, the YouTube and all the audio on our side, you could be heard, but it was a problem connecting to the radio station. And that was probably because we were using a different software. We were using Riverside instead of Streamlabs. So, but I think I fixed it. I don't know. Ross has not messaged me back. So, and Ross, Mark Ross did ask me, he owns the radio station. He did want me to ask you what it's like to present a new idea, something new, to a room full of A-type personalities. And I'm like, well, if he talks to fire chiefs and firemen, I'm sure he's dealt with that question a lot. So
yes, and that's the thing. Like, you know, one of the reasons why when I wrote the book, I've come from, I didn't start in the fire and EMS. I didn't. I was a teacher. I taught U.S. history. I taught social studies, and I taught in the high school for many years. And then I taught in the middle school for many years. And so I was a volunteer firefighter at the same time that I was a teacher.
Oh, okay.
So I've been teaching for over 20 years. So when I ended up, I became the first full-time chief at our, you know, local suburb over here. And I left that position and became full-time at a larger department here in Wausau. I ended up being pigeonholed as, well, Mark knows how to teach. So, you know, all of this stuff, we're going to just, everything gets funneled to, which is fine, because I enjoy teaching, I could say that I have a passion for it, and I like talking about different things and explaining different things and telling stories about different things, and so I was fine with that, but like any full-time department, I can't teach everybody all the time. So I was on B crew, which we all know is the best crew. So I had to tell the guys on A and C crew, they would always, be sending me texts and emails like, how did you do this? Or how did you do that? Or, I saw you doing this the other day. What was that about? Or, just, so finally I had hurt my back. So while I was all laid up, getting beat and playing Fortnite against 10-year-old kids, my wife's like, you have to do something more productive, So I'm like, all right. So I'm like, I'll just write a book, and I'll write a book about all the things that I've learned as a teacher for over 20 years. And I went to school, I have my master's to be a principal actually too.
Oh,
So,
wow.
and I've taught every grade from 6 through 12. I've taught now adults, for the last 13 years at the technical college too here in Wisconsin. So I've got the gambit of, multi-generational, like you said, type A personalities to, everybody and their uncle, and people coming in with, lots of experience, people coming in with, this is my first day, I've never even ridden in an ambulance before experience. So yeah, how do you communicate, and how do you get everybody all, on the same base? So that, that was really the intent of why I wrote the book. It's basically just, how do you inspire that kind of teaching and learning in, emergency services, because it's a little specific to what we do, because we can do scenario training, and we can do, we can just do tabletop stuff. We can do, 5-minute little, literally, let's sit in the back of the ambulance. Let's just take out the med kit, and let's just tell me, what do you know about midazolam? When would you use midazolam? What's the dose of midazolam? What are some of the signs? All those different. It doesn't have to be super complicated. It doesn't have to be super hard. But at the same time, as long as you're doing something and refreshing something, that's all it is. I mean, that's what teaching, and that's what education is, right? It's a lifelong process. So yeah, when I wrote the book, and then now that I'm medically retired with my back, I'm going around talking. I went to the Ohio Fire Chiefs, Association here in Wisconsin. I'm going down to Louisiana in February to talk at the LIFT conference. So yeah, it's a room full of 90 people. Most of them are chiefs or battalion chiefs or captains or, lieutenants or division chiefs of whatever, and it's just like, tell me, you explain to me how you do this, and how you're right, I'm wrong. And that's not really, that's not really what my thing is. My thing is, let's just talk about what's worked, and this is, these are the things that have worked for me, trying to relay information. If things work for you, great. That's fantastic, but at the same time, teaching is a process where you need to constantly reevaluate, like, what's working, what's not working. You can only beat your head against the wall so many times, the definition of crazy, right?
Right.
You can't do something all at the same time and expect different results. So, you gotta do something else. You gotta change what you're doing. You gotta actually evaluate and look at what you're doing, and really come up with a good program and actually a schedule. I mean, a lot of the departments that I've worked with, actually, everyone, because we all talk about training, we all, everyone's supposed to have training. Everyone's, all these different things, right? ISO, which for ISO ratings for fire departments, training is a huge component of that.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't actually have a written documentation, how do you prove that you are doing what you say you're doing? So it's just like,
it's true.
Just put it down on paper. Like, literally, like, I've had chiefs who are like, well, I don't even know where to start. And it's just like, just put down literally what you do. Yeah. You don't have to have some sort of fancy,
complicated.
Yeah. It doesn't. Yeah, exactly. Going back to the fishing and the taxidermy, you can make anything complicated.
Exactly.
It doesn't have to be, work smarter, not harder.
Right.
Like, literally, like, there is so much information on the internet. My website, I try to put as much info as possible, and that's the thing, like, all the, the connections on LinkedIn, or, searching me out on Facebook, I mean, send me a message, email me.
Yeah.
I don't care. If I don't know what the answer is, maybe I know someone who knows the answer, you know, like
Sure.
that's fine. It's not a big deal. You know, it's okay. You know, I've failed more. I'm actually writing another book right now about my failures as a fire chief. You know, like people, you know, they're always asking like, well, you know, fire scenes they're so chaotic, and they're, you know, there's so many things that can go wrong and that do go wrong. And I'm like, listen, in all the years that I've been doing this, you know, I have never been on a well-run fire scene ever. And those are the ones that I was running, you know, like there's always something wrong. You know, there's always something, I didn't do this, or I could have done that faster, or, you know, I could have, you know, delegation of this, or all those different things. It's like, I've never been on a well-run scene. Every scene is usually a cluster of varying degrees, you know.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
everyone's like that. You know, I've talked to guys from Los Angeles, from Detroit, that, or, you know, when I was in Ohio, that were in, you know, Cleveland, you know, big departments. Everyone says the same thing. Baltimore, there was a guy in Baltimore I was talking to earlier. It's just like, everyone has the same problems. No one's special. We're all in the same boat, literally, whether you're full-time or volunteer.
Yeah.
And don't think that that you have to know everything, because you don't, you know.
I think that's part of the lure of it, though, because there's always something that's going to be different on every scene, and it's never textbook.
No.
I mean,
Mhm.
you can make a rule for everything you're supposed to be doing, and there's something that's going to be different that's going to change it. So you can't cover every scenario, but you can have set procedures that you're supposed to do when these things come up, or certain things come up, and rules you're supposed to follow. But you know, you're never going to be able to cover everything, and that's part of the lure of the profession.
Yeah, you got SOPs, you got SOGs,
Yeah, right,
you got
right.
you know, you got your protocols. Absolutely. I mean, I mean, having that guide work is fantastic, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like teaching. You want a lesson plan. You got to have something organized. Okay, step 1, step 2. This is what we're going to do today. This is what we're going to cover. Here are here are the objectives. You know, these are the different activities that we're going to do. But you know what? As time goes on, and then you get into the fact of, hey, you know, it's now a B crew day, and we've got these 12 guys. Or hey, it's an A crew day, now it's these 12. Or it's a C crew day, or it's you know what I mean? Like every group that you have is going to be different. So the lesson is going to be different every single time that you do it.
Right.
And that's fine.
On
it's
scene.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. Like
on scene, A shift may have more people who work out. B shift may have more people who more cardio.
Yeah.
So
you may have one more, or you may have a more veteran crew, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, one house, because when we chose outside houses, it was all seniority based. So all the new guys ended up downtown. All the more senior guys were out in the outside houses. So the outside houses, we were far more senior. Like, I mean, like I said, it was all like, you know, you were there 5+. You know, you'd have 20, 30, you know, year veterans on the department that were, you know, they've been an engineer, you know, chauffeur, driver, whatever you want to call it. They've had that job for like, you know, 12+ years. You know, when I was there, I was going into year 8, being on the box, being you know, a fire medic. So it's just like, okay. And then our lieutenant was a guy that's been on the department for, you know, 25 years. So it's just like, we're a more senior crew. So we're going to do things, we're going to see things differently than here comes the Proby squad, who's got, you know, everybody, you know, everyone's looking fantastic. And here we come out of our rigs, and it's just like, it's okay. You know, you know,
I used to tell some of those guys here, get close to me, rub off on my gear, you get dirty.
Yeah, you know, it's just like, but they're, you know, you go to a cardiac, it's just like, it's their cardiac arrest. Okay, well, let's, you know, get doing this, and who's doing, you know, compressions, who's in charge, who's the lead medic, you know. I'm not going to jump in unless I need to jump in, you know, but at the same time, protocols. We all have similar procedures, but it's going to be different for the different scenes that we have. And, you know, that's why I love scenario training for education, because it's like you put people into those topics and put them into those high pressure environments, especially the young ones that have never done it before.
Yeah.
You know, that's what they're lacking. They're not really lacking the knowledge.
Right.
They're lacking the ability to translate the knowledge into action, right? Because
Yeah.
they've never seen that. I remember I was precepting one of the new guys, and we went to it was an anaphylactic was the call, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was at a local ear, nose, and throat. And I don't remember what the heck happened. They'd given the lady something, or I don't know what the deal was, but she had a reaction. Well, so we get there, and we're, they're within, earlier than 5 minutes. The nurses had already given her EpiPen in one leg. They had one on at the office. They gave her the other EpiPen in the other leg.
Oh my gosh.
Then they had her on oxygen, like all these different things. So the new, I'm with the new guy, and
Yeah.
I'm letting him go. Like, okay, what do you want to do? And he's going through all these different stuff. I'm like, okay, well, let's get her loaded. I said, it's a breathing difficulty. How about we check the breathing first?
Right.
Like, least invasive,
it always
most
gets you.
invasive, right? I mean, that's the thing. Like, don't get the tunnel vision. Just okay. Why did we get called here? Like, it's a breathing difficult. Okay, how is the breathing? Can she talk? You know what I mean? Like, and she was talking fine, 100%. And she had an elevated heart rate for obvious reasons.
Right.
So,
I
was just like, okay, let's get her in the ambulance. So we get her in the ambulance, everything's fine. And then he's like, all right, I want to start an IV. I'm like, all right, start an IV. Go ahead, sure, have access, no problem. And then I'm like, okay, what else would you like to do? And he's listening to lung sounds, and I'm like, do you hear anything? Do you crackles, wheezes? What are we seeing? Is it upper or lower? What are we looking at? And he's going through the gamut. He's okay. Well, protocol says we should give Benadryl. We need to give prednisone. We need to give. We're gonna do I want to do an A&A treatment. I'm like, okay.
Slow down.
Yeah, slow your roll here, Chief.
It's a good idea, but
technically, does protocol say that? Yes, it does.
Right.
But we have to understand what we're doing here. She's had 2 rounds of epi.
Right.
She's speaking in complete sentences. I see no swelling. I hear no wheezing.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you going to give an A&A treatment? Well, because the protocol says. Oh, okay. Do we need to give Benadryl at this point? Well, honestly, it may not hurt anything.
Could even
prednisone, prednisone. Yeah, I don't know if that's going to do anything for her. I mean, it's a long-term thing anyway, so it's just
a little late on that one. So
I don't think that's the problem. But A&A treatment, I don't think there's any problem for that. Because I'm not hearing anything. She's not having any difficulty. Don't see any swelling.
Make her heart rate go right up too.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, how fast can we get this going? Right?
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Like,
then the medic's like, we got to shock her.
Yeah, exactly. Like, we gotta slow her down. It's like, no, we're not doing that. But that's the thing. Like, they're the term protocol medic, right? You have it memorized. Fantastic. You have the knowledge of the protocol, but you need to apply that knowledge into what you're seeing with your patient. Treat the patient. Just let's do what we need to do.
I'll never forget. I started in a rural service in East Tennessee, and I was in paramedic school, and I would go to school usually the day. How did it work? The day before. So when I come into work, I had already driven because I went to school in Atlanta from Knoxville, and so we went down. When I would come in, I'd be exhausted, but it is what it is. Plus, you get clinicals and all that. His old country medic, he would always drill me when he come in to relieve me in the morning. And he always said, he may be listening. He had some really good tips and pointers. He came in early one day and was going to relieve me for something. I was still in the rack. I was out snoring toes up. And I'm sure everybody remembers the old metal clipboards. It was an old station. It had hardwood floors. He opened the door. There's just pitch black in there. And he throws that metal clipboard onto the ground. And I'll jump up. I'm like, what the? He goes, quick, what's the pediatric dose for epinephrine? Go.
What?
Go. And I'm like, what? He goes, good, you just killed a kid. And he walked out of there. And I'm like, fuck. And it was the most simple question, you know. But his point was, you're going to go from dead asleep to somebody banging, especially in rural EMS, somebody banging on the door with a dead baby, which has happened.
Yes.
And you got to know what to do. And knowing that book, studying that book is great. But if you don't know the common sense stuff, you're screwed. So he taught me a lot. So, and of course it is chaos, especially when you have a child, but it was, you know, it's little things like that. And I didn't like when I became the senior guy though. So they called it harassment when I did stuff like that, but
yeah, right. You're hazing the kids. Don't haze, no hazing.
They made me stop calling them rookie. Well, it could have been F and rookie. I'm not sure, but they made me stop calling them rookies. So.
Yeah, F and G.
Yep, exactly. We had a guy come fresh out of the academy, and they always put him for a year on the box with us, which makes no sense. They've just spent all this time to go to EMT school, fire academy for 4 months, and then they put him on the box. And you were there to take care of them because captain don't want anything to do with them. I mean, they'll occasionally get to ride on the engine, but for the most part, none of the older guys want to be on the box, so they're with you.
Yeah.
And 3 o'clock in the morning, you know the magic of 3 a.m.
Oh yeah, which is why I named the book Too Dark Clarity. Everything bad happens at 2:30 in the morning.
Oh, yeah. And bells go off, house fire, not far away, our first due. And I hadn't been assigned to the station long, so I didn't know the territory that great. But we had CAD, but most importantly, we could follow the senior man driving the engine. Most importantly, that was seemed like an important thing. I'm sitting in the passenger seat and I look over and I'm like, where the hell is Rookie? And he's putting on his air pack and all this shit and he tries to get in the ambulance with air pack. What in the hell are you doing?
Yeah.
He's like, well, they told us we got to get out of the truck ready. Yeah, that truck, not this one. So I was like, well, do you know where we're going? He's like, no. I was like, well, you better figure it out. The GPS is right there. It's pretty simple. You push a button on the MDT. I don't know how to do that. You gotta be shitting me. They didn't know how to read a map. They didn't know how to read a GPS. I'm like, oh my God. We got there like 2 hours later to our working fire. And Rescue 23 came up and they're like, oh, we're going to be closer. And like, no, they're not. This is our fire. And so they always assign 2 med units to a working incident. And so 23 beat us in turn immediate. So when I get on scene, I can hear the disgust in the chief's voice. And he's like, you've got rehab. Yeah, I do, don't I? Okay. Rookie, I want every piece of equipment in the back of that ambulance on the stretcher. First rule. It is actually cold like up north there this time. I remember that well. I'm making him pull the stretcher by himself up the hill over the 5-inch, over the... And we come up right behind engine 11, our engine, and there's Rescue 23, second unit on scene. Those Jakes are in there doing it. This is where I got in a little bit of trouble, I think. I grabbed him by his jacket. It was nicely buttoned up. He had his collar pulled and everything. He still had his air pack on. Don't know why. It wasn't like he was going to do anything. And I looked at him and I said, do you see that truck? He says, yeah, I see the truck. I said, what number does it say? He says, 23. I said, no, it says not fucking 11 in our first 2. He never came back again. I got called to IA about that. He quit. He never came back.
That was it.
Oh, wow.
Well, then maybe you couldn't do it,
It wasn't cut out for him. So IA's like, what'd you do to him? I'm like, I just kind of yelled at him.
Nothing outside the normal.
No.
Oh gosh, no. Trust me.
Could have been way worse.
When I started in this back in the early '80s, it was a much different world. So,
oh my goodness. Yeah.
And that's the thing too. I know a lot of our newer people too. Like when we start, we still do map mods, and there was discussion if we wanted to take that out of the testing of the probationary. So we'd split our city up into quadrants, and then they would get tested. As you have to know the streets in order, you have to understand, which streets go over the railroad, which streets go over the bridge that goes over the river, which are one ways, which direction do they go, all those different things. Important things you need to remember, at 2 Dark 30, in the world. So there was talk though, they're like, well, with like we, everyone's got it now. Everyone's got CAD and MDT, all those different things, and it tells you exactly where you're going. All those, yeah. But what happens if the laptop's dead? Like, because that happens all the frickin' time. The damn thing's barely, even though they're plugged in constantly, the stupid battery. I mean, I don't know. I don't understand it. It'll die within 5 minutes. So what happens when that goes down? Well, then we've got the cell phone that's there, and what if the cell phone's dead too? I mean, that's the thing. Like, you have to, you cannot just rely on technology. You have to be able to do other things and think for yourself. Which direction am I traveling? Even like, am I going east or west? Like right now, like literally, like where am I going? So. Yeah, so we left it in there, and I know there are some departments that have taken it out, and I'm just like, oh man, I get it, yeah, but the one time that it doesn't happen is going to be the one time I'm probably there, and then it's like, why did they not understand their maps, or how, it's just like, oh my god, I'm not, and that's the thing. I tell a lot of these fire chiefs too, like, legally speaking, if there's no documentation of that training, a lawyer will eat you alive. Like, I don't want to be sitting up on that, stage getting grilled about how do you prove that they know this? Oh, well, we did it that one day. Yeah. Okay. That's great. Where's the documentation?
Yeah.
Who did the training? When did the training occur? How long did the training occur? Who is the, what other people were in the room while this training was occurring? All those different things. What program were you using? It's just
I don't know. I don't
exactly
know what happened.
Well, we've been doing it. We've been doing it like this for 30 years.
I love that answer.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you've been doing it right for 30 years.
Just sign that check.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, man, the city, do they know the insurance? It's just like, oh, no. So, yeah, there's a lot of things that, unfortunately, yes, times have changed, and, we can't berate people like we used to back in the day. But at the same time, it's still up to us to make sure that they understand, and acknowledge what's going on.
Absolutely. And it wasn't that they were so accurate, because I went through it. I got set on fire at the fire academy because I was a medic. It seemed like a good thing to do at the time. So
we had a group of guys too that got tased. They got tased by the police. Yeah, I couldn't believe that too. I came back from a 3-day, and there was a video on Facebook. I was like, what the hell is this? Like, well, they volunteered. I'm like, they're probationary. You can't have them.
Yeah.
They volunteered to get tased. They're probation. They'll say yes to anything. Of course they're going to say, I guess I'll do it. No, like, I can't believe that happened.
Yeah, we
said. It was funny. Yeah, I'm sure it was real funny. Like, oh my god. No, don't do that.
That's how a lot of things get started. Well, it seemed like a good idea.
Yeah.
What's the old rule? If it sounded good to say and felt good to say, it was probably wrong. So
yeah, right. The road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, well, I missed some of the conversation because I was jumping in and out with the radio section. But how long have you been doing just this part of it? Just the education to the public, or I won't say public, but going around on the speaking circuit, so to speak.
That I've only been doing the tour, right? Since I've now medically retired with my back.
Okay.
As a caveat to everyone listening, call for lifting assistance. I don't care how. Yeah, I'm 6'3", 260. I used to be able to be, I can't anymore. I used to be able to do a lot of things, back in my day. It's what is that Toby Keith song? I'm as good once as I ever was, right?
Yeah.
Glory days. I mean, back in the day, strong like bull,
Yeah.
So, Truckee smash. Yes, I got it. I did. How do you hurt your shoulder? By trying to break in the back of a door with a Halligan bar in a car, like, Why don't you use the jaws? Yeah, well, I want to see if I can do it with the Halligan bar. It's just like,
Uh-huh.
how stupid is that? You know. But anyway,
My favorite tool. Yeah.
Because you can.
Yeah, because you can. You know, it'll take you 15 minutes. Let me tell you, it'll take 15 minutes to pry that door to get it out of its pins and get that thing. Yeah, but it's possible. You could do it. But yeah, call for lifting assistance. Don't lift. You know, don't be stupid and think, well, I can do it by myself. So yeah, I blew my L4-5 centrally, not left or right, unfortunately. So anyway, there was no surgery unless fusion, and you know, I don't want to get into the whole thing. But so since that, I wrote the book, and you know, tried to get the message out about the book. And I'm just, you know, trying to help people understand how to be a teacher, really, you know, trying to take everything, all the stuff that I've learned, all the tips and secrets and hints and hacks and all that different stuff, and try to, you know, put all my knowledge that I had, you know, from being a teacher for over 20 years into the book. And then from there, it was, you know, doing the speaking, you know, talking at here in Wisconsin. We have a society, every state has a society. So, you know, the Emergency Service Instructor Society is what they call it here in Wisconsin. But, you know, every state has their own society for stuff. So talk down at those conferences, and then that leads to, you know, other departments saying, hey, would you come over and, you know, look at this stuff? Yeah. No, I have the time now. Yeah, I can come over and help you. No problem, you know. And then, you know, going to, you know, different other chiefs talk, you know how all that goes is, you know, small groups. So then one leads to another, which leads to another. So then it's like, yeah, you know, my blog, I try to, you know, put articles out on my blog, on my website to, you know, how to, you know, do different things with I just try to stay to the education training realm, you know. So that's kind of like where I've pigeonholed myself, which is, you know, not a bad thing. But
no, absolutely. And you can learn something from everybody. I mean,
well, yeah,
literally. So you're talking about using the jaws to get in something. We pulled up in the middle of the night to trees down on the road. Sure. You know, there's pine trees in Atlanta, in Georgia. And, you know, we were in chainsaw and cut them, obviously. And then we were just going, oh. Yeah. My sergeant's like, what the hell are you doing that for? Get the jaws for. I'm like, what? He says, get the jaws. I never had thought, no department I'd ever been with. He's like, yeah, watch, zip, 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 cross the road. He goes, it's on the road, it's drainage now, not us.
Yeah. And that,
hey, how about that? Yeah. But it's just, you know, little tips and stuff like that you pick up along the way that you never would have thought about. So
yeah, work smarter, not harder. I mean, that's, you know, that's classic, right? I mean, it's, you know, could I chop a hole in the roof with an axe? Yes. Is it easier with a chainsaw? Yeah, completely. You know, like.
And now, what are you doing on that roof?
Nowadays, it's like, what are you even doing up there? Well, you know, yeah, exactly. Like that's a whole different discussion, you know, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That'll get me at Twittered, so I won't go on that one. But yeah. Fit inner search. No, anyhow.
I see one of the people, history and political science. Yes. So technically, yes, my bachelor's degree is in social science. So when I went to Michigan Tech University up in the UP, and in Michigan, you needed a teachable major and a teachable minor. So actually, I have a minor in geology, earth science, and then I've got a minor in archaeology as well. So those are my teaching subjects. So yeah,
you're pretty smart.
Yeah, wow. I used to be way smarter. I'll tell you that. I have forgotten a whole hell of a lot over all these years.
I feel the same way.
I used to be quite. And I knew I was smart. That's when you know that when you know that you used to be smart. Like, man, I used to be really smart. What happened? You know, like
old age.
I can't remember anything.
Yeah, it's like your strength and everything else. It's like, man, I used to be strong. What happened? You know, you wake up and you're 40 something, and all of a sudden, like, man, I don't remember hurting that shoulder. What the heck? You know, like what happened there?
Get out of bed and go, oh.
I tell my wife every once in a while, I'm like, you know, I don't know what the aliens did last night, but I wish they'd at least help a brother out, like fix my back. If you're gonna take me for whatever reason, just put some lube in it or something, you know, like what? I feel like I got run over by a bus when I woke up in the morning. I don't understand what's going on here.
Yes, it happens. I'm learning that now. So yeah, I'll wake up and I was trying to figure out my leg is hurting. I'm like, what the hell did I do to my leg? I didn't do anything.
Yeah, I sat here. Why is my knee hurt like this?
Yeah.
And of course, as a paramedic, you come up with everything. So yeah, but yeah, it's getting older sucks, you know. Yeah, I'm out on medical too. I was attacked by a pit bull on duty, and she got my hand and my arm, and so I had 3 surgeries, and they were like, "Oh well, you know, you will never be a fireman again." No, I was
ripped tendons. Like, is that?
Yeah, the ring finger and the pinky were just dangling. And he was very good. He's a surgeon for the Atlanta Braves, and I think the Georgia Bulldogs. He went in a little teeny tiny hole and went up here and drilled a hole in the bone and connected some stuff and brought it back down and did the same over here. And yeah, it was. I went through all the rehab and therapy, but I got strength, but I don't have resistance. In other words, if like the orthopedic surgeon said, it wouldn't release me because if you were falling through a roof, or if your partner was falling through a roof and you went to grab them, you could hold them, you could probably hold on. He goes, but you're not going to for long, because it doesn't have the strength. Well, it's not the strength; it's the dexterity. I don't remember now what it is, but it won't stay long.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been out on that too. So I get that, and yeah, I wake up and go, what the hell hit me last night? So
yeah, this last surgeon's it was a really good explanation. He's like, Mark, it's the law of diminishing returns. I'm like, okay. He's like, yeah, you're good once, about 90%. And then the next time you're down to 70. And then the next time you're down to like 40. You know, and at that point you're endangering other people. And I'm like, I do not, that's not my goal. I don't want to be a hindrance. I want to be there to help. I don't want to be there to, you know, I don't want people to, double think like, I don't know, can Mark, can he do this? I don't even want that thinking, you know. I don't want to put someone in that position because I would feel bad. You know, I have enough, survivor guilt, as they say already. So, I don't.
Well, it's hard to get to that point. Yeah, it was hard to get to that point, especially that's what I discovered. I had PTSD. I mean, I probably had it for years, but never recognized it until they were like, "Okay, you're never going back," and I'm like, "But." So yeah, it does. It gives you time to think, and so yeah. But yeah, that was the thing with me. They did. You might do it once, but you're not going to do it twice or whatever. And I knew in my heart too when he said those words. But yeah, it still didn't make it easier. But
no,
it is what it is.
It totally sucks.
And if God knows, no offense to you, if the administration would get off their ass and be chiefs instead of politicians.
Well, and that's what's funny too. Like, everyone gets. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there's probably chiefs that have really never done the job. I can't imagine where they would have come from. But at the same time, most of the chiefs have come from. They have some experience. But it's just like, it's like, man, how soon we forget. It's just like, what are you talking about? Like you were just here like 2 years ago. What are you bitching and complaining about the same stuff that we're all bitching and complaining about? It's like, and all of a sudden you're now the next yes man. It's like, what the heck happened? In
my case, the chief was started as a volunteer there, had only been there, worked his way up to chief and promoted, and 45 years of no change because they started as a volunteer with one engine and one tanker, and then they got a ladder, and then they got an ambulance, and they got this, that, and that. So yeah, and I'm not shy about it because I love the Department of Death. I won't name their name, but they screwed me over royally. So yeah,
that's the thing too. Like when I was chief, it's amazing. It's like anything. Like you don't understand until you get into that role how much it can suck. Like. All the politics. I mean, I would have meetings to talk about future meetings. Like that. It's at that point that you're like, oh my God, why
did I sign up for this?
Or like getting called, like I would get called to come over to the municipal, center and talk to it was a village. So it's like, there was the village president, and he'd have questions and blah 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 and all this different stuff, and it's just like, why I'm supposed to be running the fire department. Like, I'm constantly over here in these political, meetings and, all this stuff. It's just, but that's what happens. It's way more political than people think,
Yeah.
and then you get into that role and it's like, oh my God. And then talking about politics. Yeah. So if you want that equipment, right, you gotta, you have to be political about what you say yes and no to.
Yeah.
Like, and then it's how you say it. Like,
That
you
sucks.
can totally say things, like completely rip the Band-Aid off and be like completely, like, no, this is how it, blah 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 blah. Or you could be more political and say, well, what I love to do, and have to massage and get everyone all together and listen, this is how I'm thinking, and this is why it's important, which is the long way, as they
You have
say,
to make them think it's their idea.
yeah, it's the long way around, right? It's playing the long con. Not that you're trying to con them, but at the same time, it's like, well, to get what you want, to get what you need, to help your people, because every leader, the entire purpose is to help the people that you're supposed to be in charge of, right?
Right.
To get to that point, you got to meander. It takes the long way sometimes, and until you get into that role, you don't know. You're like, why can't it just be like this? Well, because of these 50 things that are going on, and those two departments that also want that same money, and everyone's fighting for the same, the same pot of cash, that there's no, bottomless pit. We're not the federal government. We can't just print more money. So, there's certain, limitations. So it's hard when you get into that role. It's very hard. It is. There's great things about it. Don't get me wrong. There is great things, but at the same time, it's like, it's what they call that dichotomy, right? There's two sides to every coin. So it's just like, oh.
Yeah, when I came to that department, I came from a larger one, and I was like, well, why aren't we asking for this? Why aren't we doing this? Why aren't we doing that? And they were all like, you're just a loudmouth. You're just a loudmouth. You're just from a big department. I'm like, no, that's actually common sense, good ideas. It was a big department. You're right. And so finally the assistant chief come out, God bless him. And and I asked him, and he pulls me aside and he says, what are you doing? I said, what do you mean? He said, we stopped asking for stuff years ago. I said, why? He said, because we always got told no. I said, well, that's why we have SCBA that's 1996. That's why we've got this. That's why, if you don't ask, Yeah. And so I was the loudmouth. And then right before I left, or I was forced out, they came around and they were like looking at what they need to do to the station. And the question came up, who's in charge of maintenance of the building? The fire chief was there. So I turned and asked him, like, Chief, it's not us. Who is it? He goes, I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
What? You don't know? You can't. I got to go back, Chief.
Yeah. And that's the thing too.
And then one time I wrote this report, and I would shorten things like Q42, L43, BC1, or whatever.
Yeah.
And so we had this one fire where it was the first fire report I wrote for this department, and I put all the little stuff in there. Every truck from our freaking department was on it. And the chief calls me and he goes, who exactly are these units?
You what?
Huh? You were there,
E1, engine 1.
Yeah.
I said, okay, Chief, if you have only so many tools or toys in your toy box.
Yeah.
So sometimes it makes you feel like you're pounding your head into a wall of iron too, and I get it. I mean, I've been an officer in the small department, but so. One question we always ask all of our guests is, and especially in our career, have you ever had any paranormal experiences or any type of paranormal things happen in your career?
On the job?
I've had other personal stuff too.
I've had a lot of weird things,
Seen Bigfoot?
Explain. No. I would love to. I would.
Cool.
I think, talking, it's one of those things like, so from being in the UP, you know,
Yeah.
you hear stories, you know,
Yeah.
there's howling, or, people see whatever,
Mm.
all those different things. I have never, I mean, I'm sure, I think they're out there, I can't imagine that they're not. So I'm sure in all the traipsing through the woods that I've done in my life, I've been seen by one. I haven't seen anything.
Yeah.
It's like bears too, it's just like, people are always like, well, yeah, but you never find any bear, or you never find any Bigfoot, skeletons or whatever. It's like, yeah, well, you don't, if you're out in the woods, how many times you run across a bear skeleton,
That's true.
and,
That's
or other stuff, it's like, other things, sure, that are super, numerous,
Plentiful.
squirrels and, deer and stuff like that. But,
Mhm.
I've never run across a bear, carcass, and then
No.
if you have a carcass,
Neither.
they don't last very long anyway. So,
True.
on the job, I mean, I'll be honest, there's probably, I can count 3 times where I should have died that I didn't, that, you got to wonder, like, someone was helping me out, because there were a couple times where, and two of the bigger ones were big AC units dropped through the roof.
Ooh.
And I was literally, in both cases, I was literally standing right where they dropped onto the ground, like 20 seconds earlier. You know what I mean?
So scary.
Should have died. I mean, there's, it's one of those things like, well, it's a coincidence, or, things like, I was like, well, yeah. I mean, there was one time too, I pulled this girl out of the water. She was gonna drown. I mean, it was cold. It was November, and it was one of those things like, I shouldn't have been able to find her.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's just no way. There's no.
Yeah.
She was barely above water, and I found her on the other side of a log.
Oh,
And
my
I
goodness.
waited out to get her, and I pulled her back. And it's one of the, it's like, there's no way.
That's
There's no
crazy
way,
stuff, isn't it?
and we had thermals looking all, I mean, you know what I mean? It was night, and I heard splashing and like a kind of a gurgle kind of a thing.
Wow.
Other than that, there's no way there's no way, and again, 20 seconds later, she would have been under the water, and that would have been.
Yeah.
So there's things like that has happened to me, but nothing, I've never been in a car accident, seeing the ghost, or, seeing, stuff like that I've heard, I've heard other stories, about that kind of a thing, but nothing super paranormal, like on the job. There's been some houses that I've gone to that are like, yeah, this place is haunted. There's no freaking way, like,
Yeah.
someone's here with us. I can feel the eyes on me, but nothing specific like that. Now, personally, yeah, I was told to get out of my house when I was what year was that? That was in 1989. I was a kid playing, and something told me to get out.
Oh,
Wow.
wow.
Yeah, that
Out
was
loud, you heard it?
Oh yeah, that was a whole, like,
crap.
that's probably the best ghost story I have. If you want to hear that, I don't know if we have enough time for that, but that is probably the biggest one, and that one actually gets corroborated. So okay, so I know you wanted to get done in an hour. I know we've only got like 50 seconds, but.
No, you're good. And I mean, Tamara's backstage. I'm probably going to bring her out anyhow, so she can join us.
Bring
too,
her
so.
in. We're talking about that.
Yeah, we'll just have a big party. So yeah, let's do that, so that I don't want her sitting backstage thinking, "Oh, these guys have forgot about me." So, ladies and gentlemen, this is Tamara. She's got a couple books out too. So,
Hi.
hey,
Hi everybody.
How are you?
Good, thank you.
Tamara, we got in kind of a bind because I'm trying to operate a radio station and in a studio, and I'm thinking there's some other things I'm supposed to be doing, and so I kind of got the things backed up here. So I got Mark to a little bit of a late start, but he was telling us some of his ghost stories, and I'm sure you'll like to hear this, considering you're a novelist. So
I heard some of the last story, so yeah, go ahead. I'd love to.
cool. All right.
Okay, so setting the scene up. So Dad's at work. Mom went to the grocery store. This is back in the 80s when you could leave your kids alone. So Dad's at work, mom's at the grocery store. I'm upstairs. So we had this, it was an old house. This is up in Nagani. The house is, I don't know. I think the house is built in like, turn of the century, early, 1890. It was an old house. My dad replaced all the wiring. It was all, knob and tube. So he crawled around the whole house and replaced everything. Anyway,
Oh, wow.
it was the old push button, classic.
Oh, yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, how do we
Those
start a
light
fire?
switches.
The good old days of starting, actual fire.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Yeah.
so I'm upstairs. It's an old house. I'm upstairs, and we had there was 3 bedrooms upstairs, and for whatever reason, my bedroom was downstairs in what would have been like the den, kind of the study area. I don't know why I chose to go be downstairs. I have no idea. But anyway, so the other, because I have 2 sisters, so I'm the oldest of 3, so I have 2 younger sisters. So they were across the street playing with the other girls, so they're friends. So I was all by myself. So upstairs in the other bedroom, which we kind of just turned into a toy room. So I'm up there in the corner playing with my G.I. Joes, right? Minding my own business. And I could hear from behind me shuffling or movement. Now, it wasn't specific.
Like,
it was just, it just sounded like there was things moving behind me, right? Because my back was literally to the door.
Right.
I ignored it. Didn't think anything of it. I didn't get a weird feeling. It was not worth paying attention to, basically.
Yeah.
Right. So continue doing what I was doing, playing, blah, 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 blah. Cobra, here comes Joe, So, and then all of a sudden, a Barbie gets thrown and hits the wall next to me across the room, like literally gets thrown across the room, hits the wall, comes down. At that point, it got my attention.
Yeah.
So I turn around and I'm like, expecting to see my sisters. There's nothing. The room is absolutely dead silent. And I'm like, what the frick, So, but all of a sudden in the hallway, I hear giggling, and it was girls. It was little girls giggling, the classic, ha, 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 giggling sound. So I'm like, okay, I have 2 sisters.
Right.
So you want to throw things at me? Well, let's go, right?
Yeah.
So I go out in the hallway. I'm looking, nobody, right? Don't see anybody. Don't see nothing. My sister's bedroom, they shared a room, my sisters. So I could hear the giggling again, and it was coming from their bedroom. So I'm like, haha, I'm gonna get you, right?
Yeah.
So I go into the bedroom, nothing. I look under the beds. I look everywhere in the room, nothing. Now, like I said, it's an old house. Yeah, weird, right?
Yeah,
but it's an old house, so there was no closet. So classic old houses, there was no closets. You had you'd have like a wardrobe or something, right?
Yeah.
Well, in this house, they had the way the bedrooms were, the corner of the house was just a big open area. There was 2 doors, so you could go into this common corner of the house. That was what my dad had turned into the closet area. So full of clothes. So I went into there, going through the clothes, looking like expecting to find them, right? No. Nothing. There was nothing. Heard the giggling again. Now it's in my parents' room. So you go through that corner closet into my parents' room. So I go in there, look all over the place. Nothing. Everywhere. Nothing. Not under the bed. Nothing. So at this point, I'm frustrated and I'm mad, and I yell out. Yeah, I yell out, I'm not playing anymore, Yeah. And I go to walk, and I walk kind of, frustrated, Mark. I leave the room, and when I went out of the room, so you go out of my parents' room, there was a hallway, and next to the hallway, it was an open, the staircase went down. So there was a banister right next to us, right, as you're walking down. So I'm walking down the hallway, and it's wood floors, it's classic old house. Walk down. I remember turning. I had my hand on the top of the newel post on the top, and I remember turning to go downstairs, but I hadn't gone downstairs yet. And from behind me, like literally behind me, from the direction I had just been, I could feel this, sounded like, and literally it felt like a man, like heavy, pounding, like running towards me down this
Oh
wood
my God.
down this wood hallway, like
oh,
boom, boom, boom.
crap.
Like you could feel like I was little. I mean, it was heavy. Like it wasn't, there was no kid and there was nothing there. Like there was nothing. It was just
man.
boom, 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 like maybe 4 or 5 steps, like hard, boom, 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 boom. And then and I kind of had turned because you could hear and feel it. I had turned, and as I turned, there was this loud, disembodied voice that said, "Get out!"
Oh
and
my God.
I jumped down the stairs. Like I don't even remember getting down the stairs. I down the stairs and I ran out of the house. I was outside and I sat on the front porch of that house, like shaking and like you know, and maybe like 5-10 minutes later, it wasn't that long that I was outside. I remember that my mom pulls up with her groceries, and when my mom pulls up, my sisters come running across the street from their friend's house.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm like, oh my god. So that was it. I didn't tell anybody about it.
You didn't tell your mom?
Nothing.
Oh,
not a
my
thing.
goodness.
I didn't say a word to anybody. Now here's the part of the story that gets great, and this is the part that you can't explain. So every Sunday we would go to my grandpa's house. He'd make pancakes, and he lived a block away from where we lived. So I go down to my grandpa's house and we'd have pancakes, yada yada yada. While I was having pancakes, this is like maybe 2 weeks later, he comes up to me as I'm eating my pancakes, and he's like, "Mark, you got to tell your sisters to be nice." I'm like, "What are you?" I said, "Papa," you know what we call them. I'm like, "Papa, what are you talking about?" You know. He's like, "Well, I had made pasties." Now, those that don't know what a pasty is, it's fantastic. You know, look it up. Pasty, not a pasty. Pasty.
Okay.
Pasty, a pasty. It's basically like a meat and potato kind of, calzone kind of a thing.
Oh,
anyway,
okay.
he had made a bunch and brought him over to the house. He's like, "I made pasties the other day, and I came over and I left him in your oven in the kitchen." I'm like, "Yeah, I remember you brought over pasties." And he's like, "Well, yeah, and then your sisters were playing tricks on me." I'm like, "What are you?" I said, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "What happened?" He's like, "Well, I'm in the kitchen and I hear them giggling. And I followed them all around the house. And then I'm upstairs and they told me to get out." I'm like,
"Oh my goodness.
What? What happened? What?" You know, like I said, I hadn't told anybody what happened. And then he's like, "Well, yeah, I'm upstairs and I could hear them laughing and giggling and they thought it was real funny, but I didn't think that was funny at all." I'm like,
Oh my goodness.
No, I know what happened. That wasn't the girls. I don't know what that was, and it wasn't the girls, you know. Like,
You told him that?
He thought it was the girls, and I'm like, no, So,
oh my gosh,
that's great.
That's probably the best ghost story I have.
That's a good one.
And I would tell that to my kids when I was teaching. That there was Mr. Hill, tell us a story. I'm like, okay, well, here's a story for you. True story, 100% true. Swear to God, that's what happened to me. I don't know. I can't explain it.
That's awesome.
I don't know. I have no idea.
Very awesome.
Yeah.
Would it?
There are things that go bump in the night that we don't understand. So yeah.
Yeah. Somebody did not want me in there.
No, they didn't. They didn't want anybody in there, it sounds like.
No, exactly.
Get back in there.
Crazy.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Get back in there.
Yeah, to make it even a better story. So I would always tell my dad, like, there's stuff moving in my room. Like, I would always, classic. I go to bed with, the covers over my head.
Yeah.
Because I swear that things were not physical things, but like shadows, or like it sounded like people were walking around. You know what I mean? Like he'd play, I'll play. "Oh, it's the shadow. You're seeing the bush move in the window, stuff like that,
Yeah.
But at the same time, I've got 3 daughters. I would never tell them, "Well, it's probably a ghost, Mark." I would never say that either. You you gotta say, oh no, it's something else. You're just, you're just tired.
How to play it off?
You're tired. He set up my GI Joes. He's like, okay, they're protecting you. It's just like, but at the same time, he's probably thinking, holy, my God, there's something moving around. And so we moved. So my parents sold that house. We moved to Phoenix, Arizona, and the people who bought that house called my parents in Arizona and was threatening to sue my dad because in Michigan, and it depends on the state,
if
it literally, it's the law. Like, you have to disclose anything that happens. So in Michigan, you have to literally say, did anything paranormal? Was there a death in the house? All these different things. My dad's like, well, nothing ever happened to me. I don't know what the hell you're freaking talking about. I'm like, yeah, it didn't happen to you. It happened to me. It happened to Grandpa. It happened, so he's like, well, technically, which is true. It didn't happen to him. He's like, I crawled all over that house and I've never, But so it's just like, well, I have no idea why it didn't, but they literally were calling. They were like, your soul is a haunted house and you didn't disclose, because I guess they had like 3 or 4 television tubes blow, just explode. They had stuff flown, stuff was literally
he didn't lock
flying across the room. I'm like,
hey, what did you back to play with?
Yeah, nothing like that happened to us while we were there, but they don't, whatever is there does not like you,
That's crazy.
Oh
boy.
Yeah, well, it's like I said, we still don't know what some of them are. And recently, I don't even know if I should mention this, but 2 very strange things happened to me. Different days. One, I was in the bathroom and I had just washed my hands and was drying my hands. And out of the corner of my eye, I catch a drop of water fall and land on my arm. Now, I'm paramedic, firefighter. I'm like, okay, Bruce looking. But I'm thinking, we just replaced all this bathroom. There's no pipes over there. I know, because I had the roof off, or the up to the crawl space. And so I'm like, okay, that was weird. I was like, no, nose wouldn't have been nose, because this is ice cold. I mean, like to the bone ice cold.
Did I droop out of my nose?
I mean, I was trying to think everything. Did I cry? Did I sneeze? Did I hack? I mean, whatever. But it was so cold. I mean, it couldn't have come from me. Well, I mean, I was trying to figure it out. The other night, I'm sitting here at the desk at the computer, and I don't see it, but I feel it, and I look over just in time to see it splash up. Huh. 1 single drop, ice cold water.
That's weird.
You sent me a picture.
And I took pictures of it, because I was like, because I had my wife come in the first time. I'm like, hey, do you see this? She's like, hey, you're gonna drop water. I'm like, no, do you see this? And I was like, I want somebody to see this. And so she thought it was crazy until I told her for here. It happened. It's in her pictures. It was in her messenger when she woke up. So strange, weird things happen. So, and that happened. Somebody told me it was probably after one of our shows. So, great. But
no, it wasn't, though, was it? No, it wasn't.
Yeah, it was. I mean, not the night of, but they're saying that the show opened something up, is what somebody said to me.
No.
I don't know. Bobby said things thrown at him, so yeah.
What?
So Bobby said things thrown at him live, so hey, we've got a caller, believe this or not. So we're just gonna while he's been on the air, we're gonna try and do this. Tamara, I hope you got a few minutes. I don't know what I'm doing. Hello there, and welcome to, what are we? The Paranormal Guys. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Hey, Michael, is it? How are you?
You know who that is?
Well, the last name seems to.
I know that voice.
So
yes, I am Mark's father.
Hi.
So do you corroborate this story of him and his ghost? So
absolutely.
Wow.
That's true. It's true. My dad, I had heard about it from my dad.
Okay.
And my dad grew up in a haunted house, and like Mark could tell you a lot more stuff.
Oh yeah.
Than that.
Okay. Well, it sounds like we're gonna have to get him back on the show and pick his brain some then.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot. And I grew up in a haunted house, and I had a lot of different experiences there, and nothing bad, but you'd see things.
So did you know the house was haunted when Mark was a boy?
Mark has stories that he could tell you besides that.
Okay.
Why did you not tell me that there were ghosts in my room? Why did you play it off as bushes?
Yeah.
He wants to know. I don't know if you can hear, Mark. He asked, "Why did you play it off as it was nothing and not tell him it was ghosts?" So.
Well, why would it? Like Mark said, well, if I never had any experiences there. See, I am like dead to the paranormal. Like something like that, it happens to me, and it was nothing did that saying that. Oh wow, you know. So I just tell them, like, you know, like you're gonna say to a little kid, it's car lights, or just relax, don't worry about it. I mean, who's gonna tell their kid, yeah, this house is, you know, you're not gonna tell that.
No.
Hey, you know, just don't worry about it. It's all good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the walls bleed every other night. It'd be all right. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, nothing really bad happened. But yeah, I mean, my dad got the Jesus scared out of him, and Mark did, but I had nothing happen to me at the house.
My guess is it probably did. You just didn't notice it. I find a lot of times people will have things happen that they look back either later or they just overlook. So.
Yeah.
Well, I had things happen to the house I grew up in that was 100 years old. That you see people walking through the room and things like that.
Scare the crap out of me.
Oh yeah, full half body apparitions disappearing up through the ceiling.
You to, freak out. It got normal, and like you say, when you cover your head up, everything's good.
Yeah. Yes.
All right, I'll let you go.
Well, thanks for calling in. I appreciate it. You were actually our first live call-in to me handling this, so I hope I pushed all the buttons right. Thank you. We've enjoyed your call.
When I started as a volunteer fireman, that's when we had 3/4 length boots.
Oh, yeah, and you were probably sucking the oxygen off of the water from the hose line, too, the air off the hose line, so yeah.
Well, but yeah, that and riding on the tailboard. And then 20 below.
Ooh.
I would like to have done that, but maybe in summer. So.
Yeah.
All righty.
All right. Have a good one. Thank you for calling in.
Okay, bye.
All right. Bye-bye. Well, that was great. I know you all could hear him, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So, okay, so I'm doing something right.
Yeah.
So, Tamara, thank you for being so patient with us. And Mark, you can stay, you can go, you can do whatever. We're so lazy and easy here. We just like to have fun. All right, because I'm going to guess Tamara has some good stories for us too. So, first off, tell us a little bit about yourself. And you've wrote one book and 2 more coming out. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
So, I've always been fascinated by sort of the paranormal, supernatural, all of that kind of stuff. Primarily the werewolf vampire genre, but I like all of it, to be honest. I watch any of it. I've grown up on it. I'm a payroll manager actually for a large company, which people are quite shocked that I wrote a book around this kind of genre as well. Like, you're a payroll manager, you're supposed to be boring numbers, like what? A little bit
Well, I'm not.
Yeah. But essentially, I was on maternity leave. My daughter refused to sleep, which I know most people know if they have kids, it's impossible. Mm-hmm. And then she would fall asleep and I couldn't. So I got hooked on reading novels and online books on my iPhone, just kind of try to keep the light down and stuff.
Yeah.
And one night I had a very extremely vivid dream, and it played out just like a movie in my head. And it was a story pretty much about a girl, simple life, that kind of stuff. And she gets thrown into this world of werewolves that she kind of knew existed, but didn't want any part of. And it just kind of took off. And I woke up and I explained the whole story to my better half. I'm like, oh, this happened and that happened. And oh my God. And this happened and that happened. Like, I honestly didn't want to wake up and deal with the kids. I just wanted to sleep. And then and he was like, you should write a book. He's like, I'll watch the kids while you write it. And I was like, wait.
Deal.
Yeah, I'm going to go to a room. Door closed, and you're gonna watch the kids for how long while I write a whole book? Sure. I'm done. And I honestly didn't think I would finish it. I didn't think I would get to this point, and I did. It's finished. It's done. And I kind of looked up the genre to see like how many words and how long it should be, and I was only about a third of the way through and realized that I already had a full book worth of stuff typed up. So that's why it's going to be 3.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and so it just kind of morphed into this thing, and people who are reading it, whether they like the genre or not, they are enjoying the storyline, the twists, the turns, the little bit of difference that I look at it as far as different points of view of the different characters and stuff. So I might replay a scene once or twice from different people's perspectives. Like, I don't know how much you guys are into reading, but it drives me nuts when I read and you only have like that one, like what is that person in this moment? Like, what's happening?
Yeah.
So I encapsulated that annoyance, my own OCD when it comes to reading.
See, I read comic books. It's easy. I just go back and look at the pictures again.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's no pictures except for the front. I have it here. See, I got my little drawing.
Did you draw that too, or
cover?
I did not. So yeah, my creativity is only in my writing.
Hey, that's good though. Still good.
Yes. So, it really took off so far. Lots of people interested in it. It does go through, so I'll tell you a little bit about it.
Yeah.
Starts out, girl just hanging out with her friends. She's got a nice fiance. She's working at a restaurant as a waitress, working while she's going to school, trying to finish her degree, that kind of stuff. And, she just wants a simple life, nothing major, nothing crazy going on and whatnot. And she ends up going to a club with her girlfriends for a girls' night out that she hasn't had in a while. And dun, 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 she finds her man there with another woman. And life goes kind of up in flames. And one of her girlfriends convinces her that the best way to retaliate against this is to have a one-night stand with someone. And it turns out that one-night stand happens to be the alpha or the main head honcho, top of the chain of a werewolf pack. And it just stems from there as they're learning a little bit more about her and she's learning about them, and she's put into this world of twists and turns and things that happen, but they find a lot of intrigue as far as what she's doing, and she really has to decide, like, do I want to be a part of this life of werewolves, or do I want to kind of go back to, like, I wish I didn't like go down the rabbit hole.
Sounds good.
That does sound good.
It does.
Yeah. So
you say you wrote it and you realized you wrote enough for 3 books. Is that right?
Yes. So I was kind of, honestly, like, it literally was visual in my head. Like, I had the dream.
Oh, wow.
There. So I just sat at my computer and I just brain dumped. This is what I saw. Like, this is how I pictured the dining room, the living room, the club, this, right? Wrote down all the stuff that I saw. Very rough draft form. It didn't take me long to get it down because I literally saw it. It really was a reel.
It's like a movie, yeah.
I could see everything in there. So I tried to describe what I could see to the readers, describe the moments, the feelings, because in my dream, like, I can't really picture people, but I was able to picture sort of the feeling of the people in the time, either the anger or the wow or the amazement or the sort of frustration or the sadness or the pain, like just so many emotions and stuff like that. And that is one thing that people do get into the story when they're reading with the characters. They're just like, like, I was in that moment. So
yeah.
At one point I'm talking about how the person transforms into a wolf and they can feel the wind as they're running through the forest and the pounding of their paws on the ground and running through the woods, and like the surrealness of it and just sort of the enjoyment of like the moonlight shining down on them. So very descriptive in writing so that you do feel like you're actually the character in the book.
This is all from one night stream?
Yes.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's pretty good memory, because I'm lucky to remember 5 minutes of a dream.
Yeah, I've actually, ever since I was a kid, I've had vivid dreams like this. Some of them have been good dreams, some of them not so good dreams. Like, I had quite the fun with nightmares as a kid and stuff as well. Those ghost stories that Mark was telling would have definitely thrown me for a loop. I would have been creeped out by that for sure. But yeah, I've always had those vivid dreams, and I can wake up and I can tell them like a story. I can see them and just write them out and do it. And this time I had the support and encouragement of someone who saw that it could be something, and that now it is.
Is it in current day setting, or is it in a different era?
No, it's in current day. It's in current
day. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it might go back a little far. I mean, they're playing like a girl's CD and thing. My sister brought up, like it's like a CD. Or, like people don't use CDs anymore. Like,
Yes, they do. They have old cars.
I burn CDs from like, I don't put it in my car like the day before I got to work.
That's right.
You didn't say 8-track, so.
It depends on how old your car is.
Yeah.
My car still has a CD player.
So we don't have an 8-track, Dina. Yeah.
Shut up.
My 2020 has a CD player. Come on.
That's funny. Our kids don't remember these things, but we're like, oh, yeah, that was yesterday.
Yeah, record what? A CD what?
Don't you get that at a bank? What?
Yeah. Yeah. Kids are into
What do they teach these kids? Mark, what are you teaching our kids?
I know, right? Yeah. Hey, did you do any research for the book? Like, did you look up like any kind of werewolf stories or things like that, or
like I said,
any interesting things like on your local area? Because I know here in Wisconsin we've got the Dogman.
Yeah,
that's how which is down by Racine and Kenosha, the Blair Road Dogman, which is basically a werewolf kind of a thing. It's the story of that. So.
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, so I've grown up like understanding and reading and watching all of these stories and stuff. So my dad was a big fan of Silver Bullet. I don't know if you guys have seen that one, but we watched it several times. And growing up with sort of Supernatural, Buffy, Blade, Underworld, like you name it, I've probably it. I may not remember the name of it, but I'm pretty sure if I saw a clip of it, I probably have seen it because I just enjoy watching those things, and I always have. And also having read several novels in that genre with my daughter's insomnia, and then my unfortunate repeat insomnia because of her. I did get quite a few things there. Like most of the stories when you're talking about werewolves and stuff had a lot of the same types of things. Like you have the goddess and she makes you have a true mate and stuff like that. So I did factor in a lot of the normal things. Some people like to make it a little bit different and add to that, but I've read so many of them. I've just kind of pieced all the things together that I liked. And, for me, I really wanted it to be sort of a story that, it's not that far-fetched. Like sometimes you watch some of these things like that could never happen, it's kind of, to me, I was like, what, maybe there is this other world that could live here. How can I make it as realistic as possible to say like, maybe we just don't know this other world, but it's living among us and all this stuff is happening, right? So that is one thing that I did take into consideration with my writing, that I wanted it to be not like something that could happen to somebody.
Sure. Is it only werewolves that are in the story? Like, do you bring any other mythical creature kind of things do you tie anything else in there?
There are witches as well, so it's mainly focused on the werewolf, but it does bring in the witches. If I should bring in some others, but first two are just the werewolf and the witches.
Plenty to go on, that's for sure.
Yeah,
there's so much. But it's funny because it does take a little getting used to, because like I said, I use the characters from different points of view and stuff like that. So it gets a little bit confusing when you don't pay attention to whose point of view you're reading at a time.
Yeah.
Once you get used to that, people tend to like it because like you're getting the full circle of everything that's happening. Like it makes sense.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I like all that. I like all that stuff.
Now, do you have any, aside from the 2 books, since this was all from one dream, do you have any goals of aspiration of adding to the community and doing things more, or are you just going to kind of play this out? The reason I ask is we had Philip Carter on a few weeks ago. He's a science fiction author, and he was telling us that it is almost impossible to write 2 books at once. Because he was talking like you, how he likes to take a little this, a little that, and put it in there. And he said, "I'm driving myself crazy."
Hers isn't 2 books at once, though. It's a trilogy. It's like a continuing story.
His was 2, but his was timeline, so it is got to be more tedious with timelines. But how the heck do you do it? And do you have any? Maybe adding Bigfoot, vampires, anything, ghosts, goblins, to build. I guess I'm saying build a community out of these.
Well, and to be honest, I have seen that when I've been reading some of these storylines and stuff. I think I was reading one. I kind of ran. They all come in my Facebook feed now. I picked up one, and now I'm building up them. I made the mistake, but I can't stop. So I do still read them, and I read an entire story through one of these online sort of reading things, and I finished that one. And then 2 months later, I was reading another one, but it was characters' names were similar to the ones over there, and it was actually stuff that happened to them in that other book that were connected to this one, and I didn't even realize that I was reading the same author and thing, but it was a completely different story, but they cross paths with people who interact with each other. So, yeah, there's always a possibility to branch out and to do more things. There's also a possibility to just start a completely new story from scratch. So I did have one other dream shortly after this one, which is in my head, which would not be a trilogy. It would just be one. But, I kind of want to start that one, but I need to finish book 2.
Yeah.
I think that's what Philip was getting at, especially with the timelines. It was so difficult. So, yeah.
Gotcha.
Well, and you start to get the things. So, like with dreams, like you said, you don't remember your dreams, but I don't know if other people remember them. But when I remember my dreams, I literally jump from like big scene to big scene to big scene. There's not kind of that, how did I get from here to here? It's just kind of like, poof, I'm here. And so I had to build kind of those bridges to like, okay, no, how would I get from this spot to this spot in the storyline where I was just there in my dream? So I did have to build those connections, and through building those, you build out that storyline and you start throwing extra things in and taking things out and that kind of stuff. So it definitely can morph into something much bigger, and you can, like, that rabbit hole can like go on for like miles and miles and miles, and a lot of different tunnels and stuff like that as well. It really just depends on if you're able to focus and if you're able to kind of contain it in a way that makes sense.
Yeah.
Sure.
How long did it take you to write the book?
This one I wrote in about 3 months.
Wow.
Like the rough draft.
Yeah.
I did have a lot of editing and reviewing and stuff to do after that, and then also getting help with writing the cover and stuff. So it was very quick. Like I said, I already had the story. I didn't have to think up anything other than sort of how to get from point A to point B, like just those little tunnels and stuff. And it just came really naturally to me. It was quite simplistic, which I know is not the case for most people. And even with the second one that I'm working on writing right now, I've already sort of gotten that outline, which was a little bit different than the first book. The first book, I was just like, okay, brain dump, I got to remember as much of this dream as I can, like get it all out before I forget. And with the second one, I was kind of like, okay, I forgot, but I'm not really, like, I still remember the big stuff. And so now it was kind of like, okay, now I'm going to build in some scenes and stuff, and really trying to think what would keep readers interested and how they can keep that page turning. So literally there's twists and turns. There's things that are happening each time in the book. So if you were watching sort of a series or something like that, like this is sort of something has to happen at the end of every episode. Something happens almost after every single chapter, except for chapter 1. I won't lie. Chapter 1 is boring. I got to introduce people. I got to explain. It had to be done, but that to me is my favorite chapter. But after that, I enjoy it.
How do you, and I meant to ask Mark this too. Well, you both can answer if you like. How do you find a publisher? Is it like shopping around, or do you self-publish, or how does that? Go ahead, Tamara. We'll let you.
So I actually went through self-publishing. So I was kind of just, I would put it on Amazon. I'm a new author. I have a full-time job. I've got kids. I didn't have time to shop around and do all that kind of research and stuff. And I certainly didn't want to get dejected a million times, because it was already tough just to get it done and have the confidence to finish it the first time. So I did look on Amazon to try and go through and see what they had. And they have a connection with a self-publishing that's called Book Baby, who helps you do sort of the editing, publishing. They can do the cover and that kind of stuff. And they also introduce you to a whole gamut of locations and places online that you can sell your book to. So I went with them. It helps me be in over 200 stores across the world, not just in Canada and the US. So that is kind of neat in itself. I think when it first came out, I kind of was going to all these random websites. I'm like, look at this French bookstore. I'm in there. I'm in Amazon Australia and Amazon England, and I'm going looking at all this stuff. Barnes and Noble.
That's exciting, though. That's very exciting.
It was, like I said, it didn't matter if I made a lot of money off of it and stuff. The accomplishment was just having a finished product and being able to see it kind of out there. And, you know,
Passion.
It is. It's
Yeah.
you know, I just want to encourage people to kind of follow their dreams and kind of step out of their comfort zone, because that really was what it was for me. Like, I never thought I'd write a book, honestly. Like I said, I'm a payroll manager. I sit there, I pay people, I give numbers, I do like that kind of stuff. So to step out completely something different and try my hand at it, like it felt good. And I just want to encourage people to do stuff like that as well. If they see an opportunity, just take it. Like, whether you win or fail or whatever, you still can feel accomplished that you finished it.
Yeah. I know, like, when I was looking too, like, I ended up self-publishing myself as well, because there was a couple of fire chiefs that had written for fire engineering, you know, different, you know, quote unquote literary, you know, actual publishers, and in every time when I asked, I said, well, you know, you get contracts and you get, you know, a little bit of a upfront payment, and then you get a secondary payment when you're done, and you know, all this different stuff. And when it came down to it, some of them had also self-published besides being through a regular publisher. And they all said, I made more money when I was self-publishing. Yeah. Because you own the book. So you own every, and they were always like too, like, even if, so like, say fire engineering, you know, or, you know, McDonnell Douglas, or, you know, name, you know, insert name of publisher here, whatever you as the author, you still have to do all the marketing. So they don't pay market it yet. Any publisher, big publisher, they don't pay for the market. You have to go and do the book tours, and you have to go and, you know, find a publicist and try to find the market. I mean, even, you know, well, Stephen King doesn't have to do it anymore because name recognition, but at the same time, you know, every author that writes a book, it's on you to actually market the book. Like, the publisher, we'll publish it, know that, and we will print it for you, and we will take 90% of the profit from that book for you. You know, congratulations. But it's up to the author to do all the marketing, and that's the hardest part. I mean, writing the book is hard. Don't get me wrong. I mean, writing the book is difficult, and organizing, and, you know, editing, and all those different things. That they're all real hard. The next really super hard part is marketing the book, getting the word out, and trying to find reviews, trying to get, you know, everyone to, you know, what do you think of the book, trying to, you know, all those different, that's the real crux of everything. You know.
I didn't even know about the whole marketing aspect. I'm like, oh, I wrote a book, I'm done. No. Just kidding. Yeah, it was only the beginning.
Well, I think it sounds more profitable than to self-publish and do your own marketing, like you said.
Well, from the people that I had talked to, it is.
Yeah.
And I know from my end, I've made, and that's the thing, like, you know, I will agree with Tamara. Like, if I sold one book and made the difference, you know, for one person, that's, I could care, you know, you know, that's fine. You know, I didn't write the book to make money. Don't get me wrong. I'd love for it to be, you know, sell 3 million copies.
Yeah.
You know, absolutely. You know, yes. But as long as, you know, someone got value out of it, whatever, you know, that's fine. You know, the thing that's interesting, I think a lot of people don't know that, like even like self-published authors, like, which on Amazon now accounts for almost over 60% of the books that are on Amazon. And then if you look at there's big name authors that quote unquote, you know, have big, you know, recognizable names. They're now self-publishing. Like, they don't even bother going through the publishing houses anymore either. So it's just like, it's different nowadays than it was 10, 20 years ago. Like, you don't need a publishing house taking 90% of your profits, you know, as the author and as the owner of your words. Like, why would you do that? Because you don't need to do that anymore, you know. And that's what a lot of people, you know, it's funny because people just assume different things, like the New York Times bestseller list. Like, oh, you know, well, if you actually look at how that is, that's a complete sham, because publishing houses buy the copies in order to get the numbers. And then what they do is so then they buy, say, 50,000 copies of your released book, right? If I'm Matthew McConaughey and I'm a best-selling author in New York Times list, okay, that's fantastic. Your publisher bought 50,000 copies of your book that they will now send out for free to all these people to review. And then, you know what I mean? Like, they're not literal sales. Like, those come like the next 3 years after, like, all of a sudden, like a new release, it's like a new release book is like automatically they're number one on the bestseller list. It's like, how does that happen? Well, that's how it happens, So it's just like, and
cheating.
Yeah, it's just it's fake. It's a sham.
Not fair at all.
And I know. Like, you start like actually getting into the weeds and stuff. It's like, I didn't, I had no idea that's how. And then, like self-published authors, if you sell more than like 100 books, you are super successful. Because most self-published authors, 100 books is the average. Like, if you sell more than 100 books, you're doing a really good job. You're doing fantastic. Anything more than that, kudos to you. Keep going. Keep driving. Do those different things. Yeah. And that's the other thing people don't realize. Like, how many books do you need to sell? All that different stuff. It's like, well, it depends on how much you spent, like, like Tamara said, there's a lot of companies out there that if someone is out there that's listening that wants to publish a book or that wants to write a book, there's a lot of different resources now that you can use. I did everything myself. So I paid for an editor. Yeah. And hindsight, like on my second book, that's on my failed leadership as a fire chief, I'm not going to bother with that because I found that just having my group of people read it was enough. Yeah, I didn't need to pay. I ended up paying. I'll be honest, because I'm an open book, literally. I paid $600 for my editor, one editor, and I had a couple editors read it. Because again, I've never written a book before.
Right.
So, and then you get into the cost of doing everything else. So. Part of it's just like, well, as long as I make my money back, I guess,
Yeah.
Make the money back and then make the difference for one person. Yeah, we're good,
Yeah.
Yeah. And it does start to add up because, like I did pay for like the cover and stuff like that, but there's little small things too. Like I didn't bother paying for the formatting. I'm like, I can format. I know how to do that. I went to school,
Yeah.
I got my book. It showed up and all the chapters are like at the top of the page because I didn't like push them down to the bottom. I thought they would do that for me. Nope. I was so, lesson learned. Well. I learned a few lessons with the first book for sure. That was one of them. Just those small little things. Does it break the book? Does it end? No, but is it normal?
Okay.
Collector's edition. Collector's edition.
Yep.
When you get to your second printing, you could say, hey, the first printing, you had to look at the top of the page.
Yeah.
That's what they do in comic books, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it is interesting how much you learn throughout. Like, I have, like, with marketing and stuff, there's so many different avenues you can take. A lot of things, press releases, and, as soon as, I don't even know how my name got out there, but somehow I got my name out there, and I just get all these emails like, submit your book for this thing and submit your book for that thing and try to win this award and that award. And then like I did one just to like see like what am I doing here? And it's like, oh, now you can buy this press release and you can buy this review and you can buy this and you can buy that. And you can buy that.
Yeah, of course.
They do it to us in podcasting too. Yeah.
I was like, this is too much. I don't know what to do.
Would you like to have 1,000 YouTube subscribers by the end of the week? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're all in Pakistan, and
they are.
Yeah.
Well, even where Mark was talking about like the bestsellers and them buying extra books and stuff, like I've seen those things on there as well. With the Amazon, like, oh, we'll purchase all these books for you, and we have this huge like, and we guarantee at least this many. All you have to do is drop your book to like nothing.
Why would you do that?
And they can go buy it so that they can review it to boost you up, and then it's like, and then you're supposed to raise your price. This is was too much work.
That's
and I felt like be ripping people off and doing that kind of stuff. So no.
Yeah.
Sounds too good to be true. It usually is.
Yeah.
True.
Yes.
You're right about that.
Well, now, with it being in other languages, did you have to pay for translation, or is it all in English, or?
It's all in English.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's in both ebook and paper format, and so they just have it online, links and stuff like that people can purchase from all over different bookstores.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, yeah, if you had to pay for the translations, that could add up too. So, whew.
Oh,
Yeah. Yes, I was debating if I should pay to have it converted to an audiobook. I have a few people who are like, "Oh man, when are you going to get an audiobook? I don't have time to read. I want to sit in my car and listen to it." I'm like, oh, I don't know.
Do it.
I'll tell you a scam on this.
Do the audiobook. I mean, it is. I thought the same thing. I'm like, no one wants to listen to, an education teaching. Oh yeah, they do, and it's just like, holy crap. And then, but you have to. Well, you see, mine's different because it's my it's my stories, so I tell the stories. But yours would be different because you'd have to have multiple characters. But do it yourself. That is the key, because only you know how you want your stories to be. How you could just be the narrator and bring in other people to do the other dialogue parts. But yes, I would highly recommend doing the audiobook, because it's another revenue stream as the author. Like, why would you not take advantage of it?
Yeah.
But I found it weird too. Like, who the hell wants to listen to Marc tell teaching stories and all that stuff? But there was a lot of people that did. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, holy crap, all right, well, whatever.
Well, everybody's so busy, they can only find time in traffic to listen.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, that's during COVID, podcasting shot up, and now everybody's a podcaster. It's like, I've been doing this for a few years, guys. But I'll tell you, if you're ever looking for, and I don't know why, but I get people will call and email and say, "Hey, would you like to read my audiobook?" And I was like, that sounds kind of weird. And so I started asking a couple people, and they're like, "Oh, well, we hear a lot of podcasters like to do that on the side." And I'm like, well, I would have never thought of that.
Oh, like a voice, like you voice.
Yeah. You're just a voice, and I was like, well, that kind of makes sense. So now that they say it like that, I don't know that I could do it necessarily, because there's a lot of redneck in me still. So I mean, break into East Tennessee there in the middle of the book. So it's
what kind of book it is.
Well, but I'm saying that would be my natural me. So I don't know if I could do it, but that's what they're saying. A lot of podcasters like to do it for fun. So I don't know. Who am I?
Get paid to do it. Why not, right?
Yeah. God knows I spend enough time behind this thing as it is. And just like with you all, I probably have 4 hours pre-show production, and then after the show, I'll probably have another 2 hours of post-show production. And people just don't realize what goes into these things, And so, it's a lot of hard work.
Huge.
So, but it's like you guys. I'm not going to get rich doing this. I'm not going to be a millionaire or anything. I like running my mouth. I like meeting new people. I like hearing new tales, and it's. I guess it's part of being what I was as a paramedic too. We walk into somebody's house and what's your story? So so I think that just kind of fell in for me, but. So now, did you have any? I know he had a little ghost story there. Do you have any ghost stories or any Bigfoot bite you in the back or anything?
I don't think I have any stories like that, to be honest. I do think these things exist. There's just been too many stories and too many things that people tell of certain things happening. And, I do like listening to Sylvia Brown when she shows up on a lot of the TV shows and stuff like that. And it's like, I don't feel like you can fake that stuff. I mean, I do know there's people who are faking it, but some people out there, it just seems too realistic. And, having family members particularly and stuff who have gone to the other side, I like to think that they're around. I like to think that I can have conversations with them and that they know what's going on and stuff like that. So, it is something that I hold on to, especially with my father. I talk to him all the time. I hope he can.
I'm sure he can.
Yeah,
I'm sure. Absolutely. Well, and you don't have to have any strange stories to do these type of books either, because I know quite a few people that do the comic books. I know I'm a comic book geek. They had never heard of some of these things, and they just started reading other people's works, and they just started picking up little things. Now, I'm told a comic book is much harder to write because you have to write how each frame is going to be. So they've got a lot of, and I don't have a clue how Marvel has done something they started 20 years ago, and then we're just now seeing the movie. I have no idea how they do that, but that's true talent. And I love all these things because, no, I mean, they're spooky, and I'm not a fan of the, like you guys. I grew up, like Mark grew up in a haunted house, so I'm not a fan of those things that go bump in the night, but big hairy things. And he mentioned the Dogman, the land between the lakes, which is there in Minnesota, right? Or yeah. Yep. That's a very strange area and like people have died. So, whether that's a werewolf or a Bigfoot, I don't know.
Well, it's like Alaska too. Like if you look at how many people disappear every year in Alaska, it's thousands. Like people have no idea. Like it's like anything. Every state, we all have certain things, and the freaking media only declares what's important, and that's constantly what they say. So, but thousands of people go missing in Alaska every single year, and it's just like that's strange. Like. I mean, imagine like literally thousands of people just disappearing from you. Like, how does that not, and they always say, well, people go to these national parks, especially in Alaska, because that's the other thing. People don't realize how huge Alaska is. It's a third the size of the entire continental United States. It's a giant state. It's huge area, and well, these people just go out and, they get lost and turned around, and then, then they disappear in the woods. And honestly, it probably, that's probably 90% of it, probably 100%. That's probably what's going on. But there's probably a 10% there that's like, what happened to these people? Like, what was that? There's that one guy, what is his name? David Paulides or whatever.
Paulides, missing 411.
Yeah. I mean, he's a former cop. I mean, he's investigating it's like where, they have the footprints, like this is his walking path and this is the way the guy was going, and then gone. It's just like, how do you explain that? Like
his story is how he got that into that is fascinating. I don't know if you've ever heard it, but he was like you said, a cop, and then he went to work in the private industry as, I don't want to say like mall security, but he was like over store security systems from the cash machine all the way down to the parking lot. And he was going to retire. He was tired of it. He wanted out of it. And the guy from a very well-known company came to him and said, I want you to look for someone for me, but you can't tell anyone. It was his kid. And it was the first case. And he said, I have spent so much money I can't even count it, sending in for freedom of information, getting lawyers, doing these things, and the government won't release the information. He said, and it just got me to thinking, I'm going to be retiring. Why don't I do this, see if there's more out there? And he's got a really great story. If you ever get a chance to go see him speak, he's really cool. So, but that's how he got his start. But and the Great Smoky Mountains right up the street from me here. There's people go missing every year.
Oh yeah.
It's and you think it's crazy.
We drive down to Florida every spring break, and is it Northern Georgia? There's a Bigfoot stop. I mean, that's the thing. Like almost every state has Bigfoot sightings. I mean, even down in Florida, they call them swamp
skunk apes.
Yeah, the skunk ape. So it's just like. There's something, I don't know. It's strange, that you have so many stories,
Yeah, I'm in Vancouver right now, British Columbia, and we have Sasquatch, Bigfoot. So same thing. Wendigo, I take care of the names.
Right. And that's the thing too. Like over in that Seattle area, I forget what peninsula it was on, but they had those pine trees that were all dried out, totally dead pine trees, but they were planted in the ground upside down, like with the roots, and they were, and it was in a swampy area. Like there was no tracks from, vehicles going in there. There was, and these are huge trees. It's not like, it's just a sapling that someone, took out of it. No, this is a full on tree, like 20-foot trees that were all, dried out that somebody took and planted it in the ground, and then it was like in rows, like It's like they were trying to mark off territory, you know, like how did the wind didn't do this? Like what the heck's going on here? You know, yeah, explain that. I have no idea.
I was like, when we go out camping, we always say, well, you know what, we're probably their cable TV. So because they don't have any entertainment there. They get to mess with us, the hairless ones. So and when you've been you're out in the middle of the woods in the middle of the night and you've been camping and everything's good, no one's around and stuff starts getting thrown at you. Yeah, it does get a little creepy. So yeah, raccoons and owls don't usually throw things at you. So.
No, that's usually not what's going on out there.
No. So, well, I know you both I've kept you both probably longer than I should have, but Marc, tell us where we can find your book and if you got anything coming up in the near future too. And I'm gonna give you a chance to in here in a sec, and we'll.
Yeah, if anybody, my website is just the name of the book, which is 2dark30, all written out. 2dark30.com. My email address is markhill@2dark30.com. Mark with a C, the French spelling. My mother liked the French spelling. It's not short for Marcus. So yeah, but like Tamara said, my book's on Amazon. You can get it from my website. It's everywhere, Barnes and Noble, all those different places. Other than that, I mean, I've got, like we were saying too, like speaking engagements and things. Yeah. So I'll be going to Louisiana, talking down at the LIFT conference in February. I've got the Wisconsin Society here. Their conference is also in February. So those are the ones that are coming up next for me. There's some other ones that are in the hopper next year as well, but yeah, trying to get the message, the love of learning, which everyone, it's one of the things. It's like you said before too, like, how used are you to talking in front of a group of 100 people or whatever? It's like, well, I've spoken in front of 1,000 people, and it's uncomfortable, but once you get going and once you start talking and you tell your story and you tell whatever you're talking, you forget what's really going on, so
it's the point of us chatting.
Yeah, I mean that's and that's the important part, make it a discussion, tell stories, talk about different things. Don't just sit there and do a death by PowerPoint. It's just like, oh, we can all read. Fun. Thank you very much. I don't need you to read to me what it says. Tell me something else.
Right.
So.
Yeah. So what about you? Where are you going to be? What you got going on? Any?
So still working on a few things, but yeah, Tamara D. Smith. There is the D for Danielle in there because tamarasmithwastaken.com. If it's not your genre, I do have a little bit of sort of where my werewolf lore comes from, written in sort of a little sneak thing. You can get free chapters, which I did actually convert to voice and read myself for the prologue, chapter 1 and chapter 2. So if you feel like you can, and then you can decide from there. And if you want to purchase, you can do it from the website. You can do it from Amazon or any of those other ones. I think Amazon and some of the others might even give. Actually, I think Barnes and Noble gives like a sneak peek of the first 4 chapters. I think. So if you want to get into it first before and whatnot, but yeah, ebook, paperback, they're both there, and maybe I'll look at doing the audiobook.
Do it. You got to do it. Got to do it.
Definitely.
Yeah, but definitely on my Facebook page on Tamara D. Smith, you can get all the links through there. If you're on there and stuff, I am updating what I'm doing and things that are upcoming and whatnot from there.
Okay, cool.
All right. Well,
second one will be done.
Yeah.
Well, I know you guys get a lot of requests for these because when I'll send some emails out and people will be like, "You just don't know how many people I get messaging me wanting to do this." So I appreciate you all for coming over and doing this. And yes, thank you. We like to have fun here. We like to keep it loose and stuff. And as always, you're welcome to come back if you like us. We just try and educate, have fun, and we do tell a little bit of paranormal stuff too every now and then. So
I get all kinds of stories. I could talk all night.
You'll have to come back.
Yeah, we're We're gonna have to get this going again. There, your dad gave you up there. I wasn't
leave it.
expecting that.
Fill me out there. Mark, did you tell him about that one? No, I didn't tell him about that one. Did you tell him about the light that you saw in the woods? No, I didn't tell him about the light I saw in the woods.
That's funny. That's funny. So he's giving you up. He's like, I want him out there telling these stories. So.
They're good.
Well,
all true.
But like you said, you don't tell your daughters that they're.
No, you can't.
Right.
No, everything's fine. Nothing's wrong.
Never.
The standard one, which is I took from him. If there was something, I would know.
Yeah.
Don't worry. If there was something here, I would know about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. He didn't know. No, or he's not that he's admitting to.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we'll have to get you back to tell some more of those stories, and I hope you don't have anything that goes bump in the night because it's the little things start freaking me out. So I don't know what the hell it is. I've asked some people and I get different stories. It could be anything from a water leak to Satan is upstairs in my attic or something. So I don't know what to believe. So that's the other thing with doing these shows. You get so many different people's stories.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, well, it could be something really bad.
Yeah.
But how do I know?
I know.
So I'll go to bed wearing garlic and reversible underwear or something. I don't know.
if someone's knocking on your door and you look out your window and no one's there, don't open that door. Just
I wouldn't open it anyway.
Don't open it. Don't open that door. Leave it closed.
Yep, I'm going to just pull the covers right on up.
For real.
That's what I do. It's just like, I hear no evil, see no evil.
Yeah.
Yep. My daughter's like, oh, there's things in this house. I'm like, nope, no, there isn't. So. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning in. And I'm sorry I had such trouble with the audio stuff. Next week. Oh, I need to look that up. I do know I got somebody next week. Who do I got next week? I don't
know.
Oh, I do. Next week is going to be a really odd show. We have Dr. Finnegan's Circus. It's a 3-man comedy troupe. I'm saying that right. They do classic sideshow acts and magic. I have no idea how we're going to pull this off, but
We'll figure it out.
hey, I make this up as I go along. So this will be available tomorrow on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, and I don't know, some other places. So you can find it there. Until then, I forgot. Saturday we have the Misfits show. If you're into comedy, slap happy, stupid adults drinking a cold beer, hanging around, come join us. It's always up for a good time. But other than that, we will see you next week, and thanks for tuning in. And I'm glad you two hung around. It was good to have two guests at the same time. So I appreciate that.